Ready to dive into a topic that's universally fascinating, but constantly evolving?
I am all ears. Let's do it.
Okay. Today, we're talking about love.
Ah, love. Eternal, isn't it?
Well, that's what we're here to find out. We're going deep into some excerpts from love in various historical periods.
Sounds ambitious. I like it.
Right, because it's not just about whether people have loved throughout history, but how the very idea of love has changed. We're talking philosophy, religion, social norms, the works.
Because love, as we know, doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's always got to have some context.
Exactly. So let's rewind all the way back to ancient Greece talk about setting the stage.
To the land of sandals, Socrates, and some seriously deep thinkers.
Right. And they weren't just hanging out on Mount Olympus. They were dissecting love itself. We're talking eros, the passionate kind of love.
Ah, yes, eros. That fiery, intense.
And agape, that more selfless, universal love.
Two sides of the same coin, perhaps? Or two entirely separate experiences? The Greeks definitely had thoughts.
They did. For example, there's Plato. He believed eros, that passionate kind, was a stepping stone.
A stepping stone
to agape. He saw eros as powerful, but ultimately a path to a love that goes beyond, the physical.
So kind of like graduating to a higher level of love. Interesting.
Right. But, like always in philosophy, there was another perspective. This time from Aristotle, Plato's own student. And get this, he wasn't on board with this whole transcending thing.
Oh, really? How so?
Aristotle was all about keeping it real, keeping love connected to, get this, friendship.
Friendship. Interesting.
Right, he called it philia. And for him, that deep companionate bond, that was it. That was the good stuff.
That's actually really beautiful. Passionate or friendly, the Greeks sure knew how to debate the finer points of love. And we can't forget about Sappho. Talk about a trailblazer. Her poetry was incredible, raw, honest explorations of love between women.
Way ahead of its time.
Absolutely. Her work still resonates today.
It really does. Okay, so from the philosophical foundations of Greece, we fast forward a few centuries to the Middle Ages. Castles, chivalry, and a whole new concept of love.
Courtly love.
Ah, yes. Courtly love. This is where it gets interesting. We're talking knights dedicating their bravery to a lady.
Who's usually already married.
And often way above his social station.
Talk about a power imbalance. Right. And it was all about idealization. Showering her with poems and grand gestures, but from afar.
So kind of like our modern obsession with celebrities or unattainable crushes.
You could say that. It was this longing, fueled by something that often couldn't even really happen. But it made for great literature. Just look at Chrétien de Troyes and his chivalric romances.
His stories really cemented this image of the knight pining away for his idealized lady. But hold on, because this is also the time of Augustine of Hippo, a heavyweight in the early Christian church.
Oh, absolutely. And Augustine had some very different ideas about love.
He did. He wrote about it extensively in his Confessions.
He did. But for him, true love wasn't found in another person, no matter how idealized. It was about directing your love towards God. That was true fulfillment.
So you've got these two very different ideas about love developing side by side. You've got this intense, passionate, often unrequited love in the secular world, and this deeply spiritual, devout kind of love championed by the church. Fascinating.
It really is.
Okay, but as we move out of the Middle Ages, things start shifting again, the Renaissance hits, and suddenly it's all about celebrating human experience. Love is back in a big way.
And talk about passion. I mean, just look at Petrarch and his Canzoniere. He poured his heart and soul into sonnets dedicated to Lord.
It's idealized love.
Exactly. But these weren't just your average love poems, They were raw. They were emotional. They resonated across Europe. People felt that stuff deeply.
And that takes us right to the Romantics. And, well, they took that intensity to a whole new level.
Oh, the Romantics. So much drama in the best way possible. They were all about powerful emotions, living life on your own terms. And love, of course. Intense, passionate love.
Think Goethe's The Sorrows of Young Werther.
My heart.
Right.
Talk about a perfect example of the romantic spirit. All that longing, the despair, the feeling that love could just consume you. It's almost like a blueprint for every heartbroken teenager's diary entry since.
Amazing how these ideas echo through time, but we're not stopping there. We've gone from Greek philosophers to knights in shining armor to romantic poets pouring their hearts out. But then the 20th century hits.
And things get really interesting. We're not just looking at love as this grand external force anymore. Think about the work of Freud and Jung. They took us deep into the human psyche, showed us how our unconscious desires, our childhood experiences, it all plays into how we experience love.
So love isn't just this external force, it becomes something we experience and understand internally as well.
Exactly. And then we got the existentialists like Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre, who are grappling with the question of authentic love in a world that often feels meaningless. For them, love isn't this given. It's a choice. You wake up and choose it every day.
Which is kind of amazing when you think about it, right? Like it's an act of rebellion almost.
Totally. But we can't forget how these big social movements have shaped our understanding of love, too.
You're right. The feminist movement, for one, totally challenged traditional gender roles and relationships, demanding equality. And the LGBTQ rights movement, huge. They broadened the whole definition of love, pushing for acceptance beyond just, the traditional.
It's incredible when you really think about it, how much our understanding of something like love has been shaped by these larger forces throughout history.
I know, right? It makes you wonder, in a world that's more connected than ever, but often feels, lacking in genuine connection, how do we define love today? It's a question worth thinking about, don't you think?
It definitely is. I think I'll be pondering that one for a while.
Me too.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
Of course. Until next time.